Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Today we are going to study the topic tomato hybrid seed production. Before presentation, I would like to introduce myself. I am Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. I have done M.Sc Agriculture with a specialization in Agronomy from Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar in 1996 and presently associated with seed industry. So let's proceed to the presentation. First we will go through introduction. Tomato, having botanical name Lycopersicon esculentum, is a solanaceous self-pollinated vegetable crop. It occupies the largest area among the vegetable crops in the world after potato. Tomato is one of the most important vegetable crops grown extensively in the tropical and subtropical belts of the world. It is grown mainly for fresh market and to a little extent for processing. Peru equator is considered to be the center of origin of tomato. Tomato crop is introduced by Portuguese to India. Tomato fruit can be consumed either fresh, cooked, or in the form of processed products such as jam, jelly, juice, ketchup, sauce, etc. Tomato is considered as poor man's apple because of various factors like attractive appearance and very high nutritive value, containing vitamin A content, vitamin C, minerals like calcium, potassium, and organic acids as citric acid, malic acid, and acetic acid. Here to study pigmentation in tomato. There are three types of pigmentation. First one is red color due to lycopene presence. Second, yellow color due to carotenoids, and third, tangerine is due to prolycopene. All these are working as antioxidants. At temperature below 10 degrees Celsius, tomato didn't develop red or yellow color, whereas at temperature between 10 to 25 degrees Celsius, red and yellow pigments developed, and finally, red color was suppressed above 30 degrees Celsius. If the temperature lower than 30 degrees Celsius was restored, red color again developed, and at the temperature above 40 degrees Celsius, lycopene was destroyed and no red color development took place. Now to study growth habit of tomato crop. According to the growth habit, tomato is characterized by two types. First one is indeterminate type and second is determinate type. In case of indeterminate type, the vegetative growth and reproductive growth took place simultaneously, and there is vegetative growth continues and reproductive growth also took place. In case of indeterminate, the characteristics are the plant is having erect in nature, self-topping doesn't occur, flower cluster occurs at every third node, late maturity can be seen because the growth, vegetative growth and reproductive growth are simultaneous and staking is required. While in case of determinate type, the reproductive growth took place after completion of vegetative growth, and these type plants are bushy in nature, self-topping occurs, flower cluster occurs at every node, early maturity can be seen, and staking is not required. Advantages of tomato hybrids over varieties. Hybrid tomato varieties have many advantages compared to open pollinated varieties. As F1 hybrids in tomato offer several advantages like hybrids usually produce higher yields, early maturity, more uniformity, improved fruit quality, free from cracking of fruits, good shelf life of fruits, disease resistance, resistance to biotic and abiotic stresses, and also provide a quick and convenient way of combining desirable characteristics because of use of male and female parents. With all of these advantages, many farmers prefer to sow hybrid seeds in spite of the higher seed costs. The demand for hybrid tomato seeds can be open new market for growers interested in seed production. Increased attention is now being bestowed to breeding and production of tomato. Production of tomato can further be increased if improved cultural practices are combined with good quality seeds. Here to go through hybridization in tomato crop. The phenomenon of hybrid vigor or heterosis in tomato was first discovered by Hedrick and Booth in 1908. First commercial hybrid in tomato was developed in 1940 in Japan. The heterosis in tomato has been exploited for developing hybrids through hand emasculation and hand pollination. The hybrid seed production in tomato is comparatively easy as the hand emasculation and hand pollination is easy and quicker due to large size of the flowers. The hybrid seed in this crop is very much economical as hundreds of seed per cross are obtained. Therefore, in countries like India, where tomato is cultivated throughout the year and with very cheap labor, hybrid seed production is highly economical and has good scope for export. And secondly, it requires the mastery of special skills and a close attention to detail about emasculation and pollination methods. In India, Indo-American Hybrid Seed Company took lead to develop and release of first hybrid in 1973. Standard techniques are used for F1 tomato hybrid seed production. These are categorized in three types. First one is crop management practices, second is emasculation and pollination, and third is harvesting, seed extraction and processing. Under crop management practices, we have to think about planting season, soil and location, female to male parent ratio while sowing, synchronizing sowing and planting, staggered planting to match flowering same times for male and female lines, transplanting of nursery seedlings, staking and pruning, and purity of the parental lines are important. Under emasculation and pollination, we have to follow the emasculation, pollen collection, pollination, and post-pollination cultural management. Under harvesting, seed extraction and processing, we have to go for timely harvesting, seed extraction and processing methods, seed drying and quality testing. Under crop management, climate is very important and it plays crucial role for deciding productivity and quality. Ideal growing conditions are needed to produce high quality seed. Tomatoes grow best in the dry season under day temperature of 21 to 25 degrees Celsius and night temperatures of 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. Vines will struggle to set fruit if temperature exceeds 30 degrees centigrade. Humidity is an important factor, and if humidity levels are higher than 60% at the time of fruit maturity, it will increase disease problems and reduce seed yields. Seed production during the rainy season generally leads to low yields and poor seed quality. Tomato is a typical day neutral plant, so selection of climate and season is very important. Second is field requirements. Avoid planting tomato seed crop in a field previously planted with tomato, pepper, eggplant or other solanaceous crops. This will prevent the buildup of diseases and insects. Growing tomato after paddy rice reduces the incidence of diseases and nematodes. Optimum soil pH for tomato is 6 to 7. Disorders such as blossom end rot are common if soil pH is lower than 5.5. Next one is cultural practices. Healthy plants produce healthy seeds. Crop management should be optimal to achieve good fruit and seed yield. There are different practices which are to be followed, like weeding. It should be done timely to reduce the competition with weeds. Then staking, which is done 30 days after planting to support the tomato crop while emasculation and pollination. Then training, the arrangement of the strings for the growth of tomato crop. After that, desuckering, which refer to the removal of new emerging leaves at points. Then deleafing, removal of excess leaves from the tomato crop. Then fruit pruning, nutrient and water management, and pest control. While selecting parents, hybrid seed production involves the crossing of a female line to a male line. The best seedler is selected as the female parent. Both parents should be pure, preferably being self-pollinated for more than 6 generations, which is called inbreeding. The inbred parents are selected for their desirable traits like high yields, disease resistance, fruit quality, and cleanliness. Now, as the ratio of male to female plant is concerned, it is important to have plenty of pollen available for making hybrid crosses. Since tomato vines bloom profusely, a ratio of 1 male for every 4 female plant is recommended. For hybrid seed production of tomato, the crossing ratio of 4:1 compared to 3:1, 5:1, and 6:1 found to be most ideal as it registered higher percentage of crossed fruit set and hybrid seed yield with better quality parameters. So we have to plant 1 male for 4 female rows. Male and female parents are planted in block method. After that, sowing dates. Seeds of male plants are generally sown 1 to 2 weeks earlier to ensure that pollen is available from the beginning of hybridization. It will depend upon flowering behavior of both parents to match nicking while flowering. Sometimes staggered sowings are needed or sometimes same days are needed depending upon the floral behavior of male and female parents. For quality seed production, protected nurseries and seed production practices are followed. Tomato is a high value crop, so quality is very important. Nursery area is covered with 50% seed net. The seedlings are raised in pro trays with sterilized coco peat. 100 grams of hybrid seed tomato seed is required to produce seedlings for 1 hectare. And 20 to 30 days old seedlings are ready for transplanting. As seed rate is concerned, for F1 hybrid seed production, male parent seed rate is used as 25 gram per hectare and female parent seed is used 100 gram per hectare. The seeds are used for nursery management, where sow the seeds in raised nursery bed of 20 cm height in rows of 5 cm gap and covered with sand. 8 and 10 nursery beds will be sufficient to transplant 1 acre. And as fertilizer management is concerned, apply 2 kg of DAP 10 days before pulling out of seedling. Now transplanting. Transplanting should be done with the seedlings age of 20 to 25 days, preferably at evening time for better establishment, and spacing is managed at 60 by 45 centimeters, where row to row is 60 centimeters and plant to plant 45 centimeters. And depending upon the varietal behavior, growth behavior, it can vary 90 centimeter row by row to 60 centimeter plant to plant in case of female parent. Male lines are planted in a different location to facilitate operations and avoid seeding from competing plants. Select a sunny spot to promote maximum production of flowers and pollen, because pollen availability is very important to cross female flowers. Now, as planting material is required, the number of plants depend upon the spacing. If we are maintaining row to row 60 centimeter and plant to plant 45 centimeters, then there will be approximate 14,815 plants will be needed per acre. Now, isolation. Isolation is very important in hybrid seed production to maintain the purity. Isolation refers to the distance maintenance to avoid any contamination from other sources. Tomato is highly self-pollinated crop. However, an extent of 5% of outcrossing exhibits due to insects. Hence, it requires more isolation compared to other self-pollinated crops. An isolation of 100 meters distance is recommended by the Seed Certification Agency for experimental crop and other contaminating tomato varieties in the field. Generally, hybrid seed production is done in protected net houses to avoid isolation problems and quality issues. Each tomato flower has both male and female parts. Nearly all lines, including modern varieties, are self-pollinating. In other words, the pollen from each flower stamens pollinate only the style of the same flower. Isolation of male and female parental line is not necessary. Male plants can be planted as close as 2 meters from female plants. There are few exceptions. Currant tomatoes and potato leaf types of tomatoes generally have styles that protrude outside their blossom. These lines are more attractive to insects and thus more likely to be cross-pollinated. Netting or caging to exclude pollinating insects is required if any of these types are used as female lines. Also, do not collect seeds of double fruits since double flowers are more prone to insect pollination. Now, as manuring is concerned, after thorough preparation of a field to find tilth condition for better growth, apply 25 tons of farmyard manure per hectare and apply fertilizer NPK at the rate 100 kg, 100 kg, 100 kg, where 50% of the nitrogen is applied as basal along with phosphorus and potassium. In hybrid seed production of tomato, staking is done in female parent. Staking facilitates the handling of plants during emasculation and pollination. Staking also keeps the ripening fruits above the ground and prevents rotting. Plants are trellised along with plants from the adjoining bed so that work operations are done on the raised bed rather than in furrows. Among male lines, only indeterminate types need to be staked. If male lines are staked, trellising can be done within beds or across adjoining beds. Now removing off types, which is very important to maintain the purity. The male and female lines must be 100% pure. Know the plant habit, leaf type and immature fruit characteristics like shape, size and soldier coloring of each parent. Rogging can be done. Regularly inspect the plants. Remove any off types which are inferior or virus infected plants before hybridization procedures begin. Regarding virus infected plants, there are some symptoms like yellow mottling of leaves, severe curling or cupping, other distortion of foliage and stunting of plants. Such plants should be rocked out. Now to study floral behavior of tomato crop. Tomato produces hermaphrodite flowers with pistil surrounded by a solid cone formed by stamens. This results in an essential by a self-pollinated crop. The self-pollination varying 94 to 99%. However, some degree of natural cross-pollination occurs even though the flower is hermaphrodite. The antherdescence occurs intradorsal longitudinally as soon after corolla opening. Anthesis starts early in the morning around 6 am and flower continues to open until 11 am. The peak period of antherdescence is between 8 am to 11 am depending upon initiation of sunshine, atmospheric temperature and relative humidity of air. The pollens remain viable for 2 to 5 days. The stigma becomes receptive 16 to 18 hours before anthesis and retain its receptivity up to 6 days after anthesis as per Rick 1949. The long duration of astigma receptivity from 1 to 6 days after anthesis permits for successful hybrid seed production in case of tomato. Further, this facilitated by the long duration of viability of pollen is the pollen retain its viability for 2 to 5 days at ambient temperature as per McGuire 1952. Transferring viable pollen from pollen parent to seed parent is the hardest obstacle to large-scale production of hybrid tomato seed. Emasculation. To prevent self-pollination, the removal of the stamens and androsium from the bisexual flower buds of the female line before they shed their pollen is called emasculation. The buds to be opened next day were selected in female parent and removed the androsium along with the corolla during emasculation. These emasculated buds should be covered with butter paper pockets to avoid cross-pollination and also for easy identification of emasculated flowers. The emasculation should carried out daily from 2 pm to 6 pm. The care should be taken to remove the unemasculated flowers during emasculation to avoid genetic contamination in the crossed ones. Net how seed production is advisable to avoid contaminations. Emasculation begins about 45 to 50 days after sowing. Flower buds from the second cluster which will open in 2 to 3 days are chosen for emasculation. The petals will be slightly out of the flower buds which are not opened and the corolla color is slightly yellow or even pale yellow color. Flowers from the first cluster are removed. Sterilize the forceps, scissors and hands by dipping them in 95% alcohol before emasculation is started. If gloves are used, these should be also dipped in 95% alcohol to prevent pollen contaminations. Use sharp-pointed forceps to force open the selected buds. Then split open the anther cone. Carefully pull the anther cone out of the bud, leaving the calyx, corolla and pistil. To help identify the hybrid fruit from self-fruit at the time of harvest, cut the corolla and calyx, which will be very easy during fruit picking. Now hand pollination. The transfer of pollen from male parent to female parent is called as pollination. The just opened flowers are picked from the male parent in a separate brown paper pockets and used for crossing of emasculated flowers. One male flower should be used to pollinate 3, 4, 5 or 6 female emasculated birds as per the treatments, and after crossing, different colored threads should be tied to the pedicel of the crossed birds for easy identification of the crossed bird. Pollination should carried out daily morning as per the treatments. The crossing should carried out for a period of 6 to 8 weeks from the initiation of flowering. The buds and flowers that appeared subsequently after the stopping of crossing program should be manually removed to facilitate better development of the crossed fruits and to avoid self-fruit in seed parent. Before pollination, there should be pollen collection method. Collect flowers from the male parent to extract pollen. The best time for pollen collection is during the early morning before the pollen has been shed. Avoid pollen collection on rainy days. Remove the anther cones from the flowers and put them in suitable containers such as glycine, cellophane or paper bags. Dry the anther cones by placing them 30 centimeters below a 100-watt lamp for 24 hours. The lamp creates a drying temperature of about 30 degrees centigrade. Pollen can also be sun-dried, but avoid drying it midday when temperature is very high because it can affect pollen viability. Put the dried anther cones in a plastic pan or cup, cover the cup with fine mesh screen, and then seal it with a similar tight fitting cup serving as a lid. Shake the cup about 10 to 20 minutes so that the pollen is collected in the lid cup. Transfer the pollen into a small convenient to handle container for pollination. Fresh is best for good fruit set. It can be kept for one day at moderate room temperature. When weather conditions are not suitable for pollination, dried or dehydrated pollen can be stored in a sealed container, capsules or vials, and kept in fridge for about a month. Without freezing, the pollen can be kept in an ordinary refrigerator for 2 to 3 days without any significant loss in viability. The pollen should be taken from the freezer or refrigerator and kept closed until the container warms to room temperature. This will prevent the pollen from getting wet due to condensation. Here we have shown the various field snaps while collection of pollen from the field. Emasculated flowers are generally pollinated 1 to 2 days later. Try to avoid pollination on rainy days. The corolla of the emasculated flower turns bright yellow, signaling that the stigma is ready for pollination. Dip the stigma into the pool of pollen in the pollen container or pollinate by touching the stigma with the tip of the index finger dipped in the pollen pool. Pollination is usually done 3 times weekly over a 3 to 5 week period. Successful pollinations are easily seen within 1 week by the enlargement of the fruit. After breeding operations are completed, any non-crossed flowers on the female plants are removed to lessen the chance of contamination from self seed before harvest. It can be concluded that optimum time for pollination of emasculated bird in tomato hybrid seed production can be practiced from 9 am to 11 am, which result high percentage of fruit set and hybrid seed yield with high quality. The optimum yield with better quality can be obtained from the parents having a load of 10 fruits per plant and when applied with GA3 at the rate 100 ppm at flower and fruit initiation stage. Pollination usually done just 1 day after the flower opens and can be carried on throughout the day. The usual success rate varies from 50 to 70%. The basal flowers of inflorescence set seeds better than the terminal ones. Hence, it is advisable to pollinate the first 3 to 4 flowers of each inflorescence and rest should be clipped off. This provides additional food to the remaining emasculated and artificially pollinated flowers. There were very limited and conflicting reports on the best time to pollinate flower in order to obtain maximum fruit set in tomato. When pollen viability is low, artificial pollination should be done on next day, preferably at midday with low light intensity. Pollination on 2 or 3 days after emasculation increased the fruit set by 19 and 28% respectively when compared to 1 day after emasculation as per the experiment conducted. The number and total weight of seeds per fruit increased by 100 and 400% respectively when pollination was done 2 and 3 days after emasculation. In tomato, anthesis starts early in the morning around 6 am and continues to open up to 11 am. The peak period of anther dehiscence is between 8 to 11 am depending upon the sunshine, atmospheric temperature and humidity. Between 18 to 25 degrees centigrade, the pollen remains viable for 2 to 5 days. The stigma receptivity remains up to 6 days after anthesis. shortly before the flower withers. Long duration of stigma receptivity from 1st to 6 days after anthesis permits controlled pollination and increasing the fruit sets. There are various factors which are affecting cross-pollination. Tomato is a self-pollinated crop. The amount of natural self-pollination ranges from 94 to 99%. However, a low degree of natural cross-pollination does occur in it. The degree of cross-pollination depends upon certain external and internal factors like temperature, insect population and their activity at flowering time, planting design and plant population, wind velocity, wind direction, and genotypic nature of parents. Labor demands for hybrid seed production in tomato, emasculation and pollination are very labor intensive. About 0.1 hectare of indeterminate female plants requires 2 to 3 persons for 5 to 6 weeks. The same area of determinate female plants requires 4 to 6 people for 3 weeks. As fruit production is concerned, the number of hybrid fruits produced per plant depend on the fruit size of the maternal parent. As a rule of thumb, maintain the 30 fruits of large fruited parents, 40 fruit for medium fruited parent, and 50 or more fruits for a small fruited parent. Hybrid fruits are easily recognized by their cut sepals. Remove the naturally pollinated or non-hybrid fruits, if any, from the female parent. This removal will prevent the accidental mixture of non-hybrid with hybrid fruits and improve the quality. Furthermore, non-hybrid fruits will steal nutrition away from the ripening hybrid fruits. The fruit set percentage is calculated dividing number of fruits retained per plant, dividing number of flowers crossed per plant, multiplied by 100. Certification of seed is required for pure seed quality status. There are number of inspections should be done. A minimum of 3 inspections shall be made on different stages, like first inspection shall be made before flowering in order to verify isolation, volunteer plants and other relevant factors. The second inspection shall be made during flowering to check isolation, off types and other relevant factors. And third inspection shall be made during maturity and prior to harvesting to verify true nature of plant and other relevant factors. As pest and disease management is concerned, the major pests attacking tomato crop are leaf-eating caterpillars and fruit borers, which can be controlled by spraying. The major disease in tomato are early blight and mosaic virus. The early blight can be controlled by spraying benlate or dithionium 45 or other latest chemical molecules. In tomato, there are various yield attributing characters like fruit girth, fruit weight per plant, fruit yield per hectare, seed weight per fruit, number of seeds per fruit, seed weight per plant, and seed yield per hectare, then 1000 seed weight. As seed quality parameters are concerned, there is germination percent, genetic purity percent, field emergence percentage, root length, shoot length, seedling dry weight, seedling vigor index and electrical conductivity of seed leachate. Now harvesting stage. Tomato fruits ripen about 50 to 60 days after pollination but may take longer if temperatures are cool. Keep the fruits on the vine until they are fully mature, preferably to the pink or red ripe stage. This enables the seed to develop normally and fully. If fruits are harvested at an earlier stage, place them in a covered, cool dry place for 3 or 4 days until they become red ripe. Be sure to check for the clipped sepal before harvesting fruit. Collected fruits in non-metallic containers such as nylon, net bags, plastic buckets or crates. Metal containers may react with acid in the tomato juice and affect seed viability. Hence, they should not be used. After harvesting of the fruits, extraction method is followed. There are two methods. First one is manual extraction and second is mechanical or acid extraction. Under manual extraction, harvest the ripe fruits and keep them in nylon bags. Crush the fruits by trampling with feet. Put the bags of crushed fruits into big plastic containers and ferment to separate the gel mass, embedding the seeds. To hasten the fermentation process, put weights over the bags or keep the fruit submerged in the liquid fruit mass. The time of fermentation depends upon the ambient room temperature. If temperature is above 25 degrees Celsius, 1 day of fermentation may be sufficient. If it is cooler, 2 days of fermentation may be needed. Fermentation for more than 3 days may spoil the seeds' quality. To wash the seeds, put them in an open plastic container, then fill the container with water and stir the seeds to allow the pieces of flesh and skin sticking on the seeds to float. Incline the container and gently remove the floating refuge, making sure that the seeds remain at the bottom. Repeat the washing several times, adding fresh water to the container every time until all the flesh and gels are completely removed, leaving clean seed at the bottom. Here we have shown the various methods of extraction of the seeds manually. Second extraction method is mechanical and acid extraction. Mechanical seed extraction is used by large scale operations. Put ripened fruits into a mechanical seed extractor for crushing and separation of the seeds and gel from the pulp. Gather the seeds and gel mass in a suitable container such as plastic tub or bucket. Instead of fermentation, treat the seed gel mass with 0.7% hydrochloric acid HCl at a rate of 7 millimeters of HCl per kilogram of seed gel mass. Stir the seed gel mass while the acid is being added. Continue stirring for 40 minutes until the gel is visibly softened or dissolved. Do not use a higher concentration of acid nor a longer treatment time, otherwise we will injure the seeds. When the seed is separated from the gel, pour the acid treated seeds into a clean fine mesh bag. Wash the bag with tap water thoroughly so that no acid is left on the seed surface. While washing, step on the bag to squeeze out the remaining gel. Place the seeds into a plastic container, filling it to 1/3 capacity. Then fill up the container with tap water. Stir the seeds to enable the small pieces of flesh and skin to float. Incline the container and remove the floating debris. Make sure the seeds remain at the bottom of the container. Repeat the washing procedure several times until all the debris is gone and seeds are clean and free from acid content. In mechanical extraction and acid extraction, a machine is used to extract seeds from fruits. Seeds are then treated with hydrochloric acid to loosen their gelatinous coating and then cleaned using water. Now seed drying. Place the washed seeds in bags. Excess water can be removed by hanging the seeds in the shade for a day. An even quicker way to remove water is to place the seeds in a spin dryer. After the excess water is removed, uniformly spread the partially dried seeds in a flat plastic container or aluminum pan. Loosen any clumps of seeds. Enclose this container with its seeds into a neat nylon bag. Place the container into an air dryer, drying continuous for 3 to 4 days, maintaining a temperature of 28 to 30 degrees centigrade. Higher temperatures at the time of drying may cause seeds to germinate. Stir the seeds 2 to 3 times daily so that seeds dry uniformly. Loosen any seeds that clump together. These procedures will get the seeds to the desired 6 to 8% moisture content. Seeds are spun dried, sprayed and loosened in a flat container, then rebagged and placed into an air dryer. Now seed packaging and storage. Pack and deliver the dried seeds according to a specification of the seed company or contract agency. If necessary, tomato seeds can be safely stored for at least 3 to 5 years. Place seeds in manila envelopes or cloth or mesh bags, plastic containers or foil envelopes. The best containers are airtight, such as sealed glass jar, metal can or foil envelopes. Label each container carefully. Note the names of the hybrids and parents, the date and any other information which are needed valuable. Store seeds in a cool and dry place. A small quantities can be kept in an airtight container inside a refrigerator. For larger quantities, a special room with controlled humidity and temperature should be used. If possible, the temperature should not exceed 20 degrees centigrade and relative humidity RH in the storage area should not exceed 30%. As seed quality is concerned, make sure that 6 to 8% moisture in seed should be maintained. Seed yields vary between 120 to 150 kg per hectare depending upon the pollination time and parents. Seed recovery generally varies 0.3% from raw fruits. 1000 seed weights ranges between 3 to 5 grams and it may vary depending upon the parents. Genetic purity is needed to maintain 98%. Germination is 90%. Marker versus GOT applications for genetic purity testing and varietal identification is followed. In marker genes, it can be done immediately in a short period, while in case of GOT, the seeds are grown and the quality is checked after flowering and fruiting. So this presentation was all about tomato hybrid seed production. Now my presentation ends here. Thank you very much. I have given here my YouTube channel details, Journey with Vijay Kumar Shrivastav. Having request, please visit the channel, subscribe it and provide your kind and valuable feedback. Thank you.